No, this is all about this. Like, I was like, I'm gonna get two or whatever we download and all this stuff, and then just like, I wait, are we live streaming? Whenever you guys start.
You all ready? There. Let's try. Okay, here we go. We will call the County Village Commission meeting of July 13th, 2021 to order. Here at 4 p.m. at the 101 North Front Street, second floor, room 204. The next business meeting will be Tuesday, July 27th, 2021 at noon. Also, there are 101 North Front Street, second floor, room 204. The next hearing will be Tuesday, August 10th, 2021 at 4 p.m. here at the same room as well. I'll be swearing the staff today. Will you state your name for the record, please?
Kimberly Bernard Sheehy.
And you promise to give your testimony to the best of your ability.
I do.
Okay, great. And no one else from staff speaking today?
Jack, do we want to swear you in? Sure, could do it.
Sounds good. Can you state your name for the record as well?
Jack Bernard, Assistant Board Conservation Officer.
Great. And you promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability this afternoon as well?
I do.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Let's introduce everybody present. Let's go around and call everybody to state their name.
David Cook.
Jason Sudi.
Michael Smith. Lauren McNeil. Shannon Burgess.
All right, so we got a quorum and potentially more on the way. You know, is that it?
I think this would be it.
Fair enough. Looks like there's an overview of hearing format on our agenda. Would you like to speak to that?
Yes, so similar to the virtual meetings, the order of speaking is going to be city staff will present materials, the applicant will be sworn in, and then asked to present any additional materials if applicable. If speakers are present, they will be sworn in and provided 3 minutes to speak each. I do not have any speakers for this hearing. So, and then the commissioners will discuss the case and ask questions as needed.
Okay, do we need to cover the code stuff that's on here?
I'm going to read it off just in case.
Okay, sounds good.
So it is recommended that any persons attending the meeting maintain 6 feet social distance and wear a face covering. Mask, disinfectant wipes, and hand sanitizer are available near the entrance, and any person experiencing symptoms of COVID-19 should not enter the building.
Perfect. Do we have a public forum today?
No, not today.
Excellent. Okay, so let's jump into the approval of staff approvals. I trying to find where those start.
Page 9.
Excellent. Okay, so do I have a motion for approval of staff approvals?
So moved.
One from David. Do I have a second?
Second.
Great. Second from Lauren. And let's just call the roll, then we'll go for abstentions. Can we do all in favor again, since we're,
Yes.
all right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? And I'll go through for abstentions. Exciting. Just to think of the second to be shaved off. Okay, 9092 Warren Street. 1208 North High. 1042 North 6th. 1097 Say. 176 to 178 East Second. This one, various locations. I think we're all okay with that one, probably. Anybody have to abstain from various locations? I don't think we'll probably somebody would do that. Yeah, abstentions on that one, okay. 15 East Second. 930 North High. 105. Any last call on abstentions? Hearing none, no abstentions. Okay, so let's go back up to the top. And staff, where do we begin?
The approval of the minutes from the last meeting.
Oh, yeah. So we don't begin yet. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from June 8th, 2021?
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
Okay, great. Second for Brooke. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, Shannon's abstaining from that one. All those were in favor. All right, now, are we ready to begin? I think we are. So it looks like number 3, correct?
Correct. The first two are moved to staff approval at the business meeting. So we are starting off with 958 North High Street. This application is to remove existing unapproved awnings and install new awnings across the entire patio. The awning will measure approximately 37 feet and 2.5 inches long by 5 feet wide. The overall height of the awning will be 13 feet 11 inches. The commissioners at the business meeting were not supportive of the signage at the end of the awning and thought the ends should be open per the short north design guidelines. Commissioners were not all supportive of the vertical struts. They need to be clarified on what their purpose is at the hearing. Commissioners also wanted clarification on the concrete foundation fix, which I was able to talk with the applicant through email and with the city engineer. This is not something that is going to be involved in this application. It was discussed between them, but the awnings are going to serve as the solution for cooling water. And and as I said, the application is for the awning approval only. Staff does recommend approval of the application with the condition that the awning ends are left open for the short north design guidelines, and the basis for staff recommendation is the short north design guidelines, specifically the awnings and canopies.
Excellent. Okay, applicant is here today. Jim, I don't see him. I recognize him from Zoom, I don't see him today. Well, I guess it's up to the commission if we want to push it, or if we think there are specific succinct comments we can make. And
Or if they want to wait, and see if he shows
shows up.
up.
Why don't we do that?
I'd suggest
I think you're up, sir. Perfect.
I just read the staff
I think
report
you're up.
for
958 North High, correct? Yep, come on. Move a couple things off the beginning. Turn up to me first. Okay. Will you get settled? Will you raise your right hand and state your name for the record?
Sham Dudila?
And you promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability?
Yes.
Great, okay. So we just heard the staff report. Just a quick summary. We're not talking about the sidewalk piece today. You're fixing and figuring that out with city separately. And then we are just talking about the awning.
Yeah.
Okay, can you restate the conditions of approval you'd like to have?
So the condition for approval was that the awnings ends are left open for the short north design guidelines.
Okay, yeah, so basically, we don't typically allow the wraparound. So if you're willing to have those open on the end, then staff supports it.
Yeah, I have no issues unless because there's a lot of metal comes below it because it's from 3 feet down slope, like say where it comes. So there's a lot of metal and then it's 32 feet, 37 feet long. So if you want to see from this side to that side, all the metal will be visible clearly. So that's only thing. I'm okay with it, but it looks more not good than covering it. For me, it's okay. It doesn't matter if I cover it or don't cover it.
And then I think one of the conditions is that we have metal has a certain color. Correct? You know that you have, and you haven't this on your house.
No. Yes.
Yes, I think what we would request is that looks like we say metal pipes covered. Staff.
it's in our guidelines. It needs to be the color of the awning.
Yeah, so
The color of the awning.
it's black.
It's a
And all the framework needs to be.
Yeah, so you can agree with that, if the framework be black as well.
If it's available, yes, fine. If it's not, like I'm not, because yeah, if it's available, it should be. Because most of it comes in aluminum one, because the black when you go, it gets heavier. Because the kind of like heavier in the sense, normally when the manufacturing wise, you get either aluminum, the smaller ones, the bigger ones comes in a black, which is quite heavier.
Check with the staff. I know we've had.
Or it can be painted. If it can be painted, that's fine.
Yeah, correct. Okay. Questions from commissioners?
What I heard you mention about that is the
Yeah, can you talk to us about that? I know some commissioners had concerns about the vertical poles holding up the end of the awning. It's possible to do the awning without the vertical poles?
I spoke to the designer and the thing, but because of the heaviness of the metal, everything is gonna come and just top of the brick, the weight wise. Unless I have something like it's a request from here, I'm okay. Because it's a 5 feet long, it needs in the front.
I don't feel strongly on it either way, but clearly you do, you should certainly make that. Yes, it's other commissioners have thoughts on that. Just concerned about that.
The fear is that those will end up holding plastic during seasons and whatever else is creating enclosed spaces, which is not what we want to do along streets. So, and it's not in the guidelines to have vertical supports.
Yeah, no,
That could be engineered, it's not, that's just not an issue. There isn't a-
Yeah, no, it's here.
There's four.
Yes.
Maybe a corner or two, if not one or two, I don't know if it can be lessened.
From that elevation.
Oh, I see, okay. I think that's fine. Yeah, I mean,
That's explain how it's mounted in the city sidewalk and what that's gonna.
That's going to go into the existing place is what, wherever the existing railing is there.
You're firm on the posts and posts, and it isn't consistent with our other standards that. So we're anxious to continue that.
staff, do you have any, opinion on,
Not off the top of my head, I can't remember if there were any other ones approved with them.
I thought Bristol or Bodega, they had the same. The Bristol and the Bodega. Bristol
Bristol.
and the Republic and then the Bodega, I think that has the same thing down.
This is a recent approval for an awning, but I'm trying to remember if it had that or not, and I don't recall off the top of my head. I don't think I included it, materials here.
okay, so I guess the question for you is, do you want to have those remain, have us go around and put those in, or flexible? In fact, you may be able to pull those out.
I'm okay flexible, but then I need a request from here that you guys are requesting it in case of any, otherwise I wish it be there in case of, because I know the support comes from the brick, it's just on the top, rest of everything is a wooden frame from 32 feet. So it just supports this end and that end to the wall.
Okay.
And they center nothing which supports the, from my side. So I'm,
Staff, you'd be comfortable with making a motion that out the verticals, pending, concern expression. Start of it.
Yes. I mean, I'm also agreeing for Jacqueline too, so one of us will work
Okay.
through that.
Yeah, that's right. You can just figure it out. No, sure, whenever you have an mention,
Anything. I still have some code in the guidelines to go by.
Okay, sounds good. So Dave, you want to make that motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the size and the location of the horizontal awning with the understanding that the end panels will remain open, that the structure will be electrostatically painted, the same color as the canvas, parentheses, black, parentheses, and the vertical poles will not be approved until staff is told that it cannot be engineered otherwise. Which at that time, it should come back to the commission.
All right, great, do I have a second? Second, do we call, I guess I'll call it, I'll do it the Zoom way. David?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Shannon? Brooke?
Yes.
And Jason, yes. So all in favor, so you should be able to work with staff to get that figured out.
So I should come back to the commission if it has to be structured and yet wait one more month again?
Well, just work with staff, they should be able to get it figured out for you here this next month, so.
So the awnings are approved, and then if there's any structural concerns with the struts, we'll work it out from there.
And if it has to come back, I have to wait for the next hearing and the next hearing again. That doesn't make sense. It wastes a lot of time. There are a lot of interdependencies to do the business based on that. Like we lose one more summer and already of almost like 2 months down. If it has to come back, then it will be somewhere in the August again. Again, for getting it erected, it will finish off September end, and then I run into it. It just doesn't.
Yeah, I think that's just really what
It's not being fair. I don't know why. I don't think. I mean, I don't know. It's not being fair. It's just not being fair. I'm seeing that. Yeah.
Or we want to something to discuss.
It's just like for a whole thing, I had to wait for a whole week again, for a whole month for a small thing. If it's not done, if it's possible, I'm okay with it. Or talk to any city engineer. If they say there is an alternate solution, let the businesses go through. Not wait for a year to do that.
We will, and if that's something we discuss, then we need to go through the commissioner. It's not necessarily. I don't want to chat you referendum because I also probably won't be the one seeing it.
That's fine. It's just a quick.
I'm sure Ben and I would be supportive of participating or offering.
Yeah, I think I can do it.
Okay. So, do you want to amend the motion to put a possible subcommittee review by,
You'd rather do that.
I will, I think the motion should stay the way it is. Get the fabricator. This isn't an impossible situation. I get the fabricator to resubmit the drawing minus the holes. That's the issue. Okay?
Yeah. If it is possible, if it's possible, I know. Yeah. Because I spoke to a couple of them. They said it has to be. That's where two constructors said it has to be. Otherwise, it will not take the load. If it is possible, yeah.
So are we okay? So do we need a motion?
you have to do a motion because it's got to be part. We should do that.
Motion?
Yes.
Okay, can I have a second? I will call the roll. Shannon?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Brooke?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Jason, yes. Okay, sounds good. So we'll work it out as best we can.
Yeah, no problem.
The smaller of those has to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Number 4. I'm saying, so. I don't know who's got to ask yet.
So before you leave, we need somebody to step up to temporarily chair this one and just guide us through everything here. Thank you, Sharon. All right, so application number 4 is 347 East Fifth Avenue. This is for site 3. This is formerly reviewed as the site landscape. This application is for the architecture, density, massing, and parking only, with landscaping, exterior lighting, windows, and artwork forthcoming. So this is to construct 4 two-story townhouses with 2 detached garages in their rear with private yards. It is 2 stories at the north and 1 story at the south. These include a privacy fence between units. The courtyard is to separate the townhouses and amenity building. The amenity building will be located at the corner of Grant and Detroit. The building will be 2 stories at the north and 1 story at the south. The proposed courtyard is to include a pool and mechanical buildings. The courtyard will be enclosed by a brick fence, and the fence will have a monolith feature and signage. Staff did include the previous comments from the June 8th, 2021 Italian Village Commission hearing minutes. Staff recommends approval of the application with the conditions that the townhouse fronts be more varied and the courtyards incorporate more green space. Revised drawings are to be submitted to the historic preservation staff. Prior to submission prior to issuance of this certificate. Basis for our staff recommendation is City Code 3116.12, these standards for new construction. And I'll hand it over to you so we can get our applicants one in statement.
Daniel Haynes?
Tell the whole truth, the truth.
Yes.
What do you got?
So, I mean, this is a continuation of where we were before, and if it's fine, let me just sort of address the issues that we were trying to come up with. So I think with the townhouses, and I was listening during the business meeting for the townhouses themselves, we're varying those by base of color. So it's sort of a gradation from a white to a middle gray. And that could probably be seen best in the renderings. I think there was also some concerns on the canopies for both. Yeah, we can. Well, I was gonna wait till we got to the, so we could see the images for the, sorry, I don't have the document from, I think that it should be the next couple pages, will be the townhouse images. There we go. You can see how those are gradiating out. I think there was concerns on the canopy at the porch themselves. So when we say porch, it's really the entryway. It's really a glass piece through there. And we've submitted some details for that. It's a shaped aluminum faces, so there'd be like a shaped steel. Then we've shown those in the details. Were there concerns about I think we got the amenity canopy worked through in the last meeting. The brick one with the guy wires and stuff, if I remember correctly. Yeah, that one there. So those are, it's a metal fascia, wood on underside, and they're held back by cables that's holding that up. And then we've got some plantings and then a cable fence or a cable rail that's sort of separating the porch from the street itself. I think there were some questions also on business meeting about the green space between the two. And I don't want to phrase it this way, but we've got landscape in for conceptual, and that's number 16 on the agenda. So if maybe we could talk about that in later, if that's possible. I don't know. Any further questions? I think we've been through this building a few times and hopefully we've addressed all of the concerns.
I don't know.
Sorry, Brooke.
Oh, I don't have any, other than I really appreciate you changing the colors of the townhouses. I like that, what you've done there with the gradation,
Great, thank you.
white to gray. Everything else seems like very nice.
Okay, great.
I do not have anything either. Do I have a motion?
Trying to think how to phrase it. I will make a motion. We'll start it to say to approve tonight's information with the understanding that there's still areas back for additional approval.
Such as landscaping, exterior lighting, windows.
Graphics, right?
That'll be in the approval because it's on the agenda. Okay. Is there a second? Second. Jeez. Brooke, second, I guess. Okay, David? Brooke? Yes. Lauren? Yes. And yes. Motion passes.
Great.
Thank you. We'll see you.
I'll see you in
Inappropriate than all, we have the outcome there. Just go to 16.
I was, so MKSK did the landscape, they'll be here with me, and I told them that we'd be done around 6.
After we get more specific, I'll get back to putting them together.
Okay, I'll be back.
Send it that way to my
Thank you.
Eric? Get you started.
It doesn't matter. No, we have to do that, yeah.
I was trying to help you all out. It's nice.
That's true.
Wait, before you, is there a temperature control? It's cold.
Freezing.
Yeah, I was about to reclaim that class. Yeah, it's freezing. Yeah, it's so cold. We can try this, you tinker with it. It's right by blue. And you can get it, it's the one on top. You can turn it up a couple degrees. I don't know if this is actually going to do anything. I think, I always remember this was being a bit cold. Oh my God. All right. Digressing. Okay, back to application number 5. This is 281-289 East Detroit Avenue. This application is to change the primary exterior material from masonry to the wildwood composite cladding siding. The minutes from the June 8th, 2020 Town Village Commission hearings have been included in the staff report. Commissioners at the business meeting requested large-scale sections of each corners where the paneling meet the different materials and rounded windows. Per previous commission and HBO staff requirements, the siding should have a smooth finish. Staff recommendation includes continuation of the application to allow for submission and review of sections of the business meeting, but I believe Carrick submitted those after I did my staff report. So he's kind of one step ahead of me. The basis for staff recommendation is City Code 3116.11 standard for alteration.
Okay, let's get you sworn in officially. You can say the name for the record.
Carrick Show.
And you also have to read your testimony, but you can-
I certainly do.
Excellent. Okay, so over to you.
Just to clarify, the most of the building is board and batten fiber cement that we're accustomed to seeing. It's just the lighter brown portions on the corner that is the composite rain screen. I did submit a detail after the business meeting that is a section kind of at the top of the east building's parapet that shows the buildup of the fiber cement trim and the window head and the cladding as well as the siding all together. It was kind of like the best location that shows how all the pieces were going together.
I know you submitted it. I have to apologize to the commission. I don't think I uploaded it. But if that's not last, please send it.
I have it printed if,
That's fine. So, Steph, we looked at, this is also a change in field too, for our for. It's like. So even though we're just talking specifically this moment about these inset portions, we're also talking about changing overall material to the board back.
That's correct.
It was right.
Correct. The base is still the same material as it was before, so it's kind of a, 2 foot 30 inch water table of masonry with a stone cap before the fiber cement starts. But the rest of it is the vertical hatch pattern and the elevations is the board and batten. Where it tightens up, that's where it's the composite cladding.
I think a lot of problem with consistency. Maybe this is the rendering only, but this feels like it's a very strong frame line around there. It comes across here. It doesn't seem to come down over here. And what are these blank. You got one here and then another one that looks like he's getting knocked out with some of the material, but it's not the material coming on down.
That would just be a smooth fiber cement panel. I was trying to kind of augment the horizontal nature of the windows with the trim. I mean, it's going to be obviously very subtle because it's the same material within that rectangle. You know, kind of playing with the two different materials in the void and the long vertical or horizontal element.
It seems like you've got the two twos on this side lining up and matching up, and then over here you see 3 up and 2 down, and the thing that almost looks like a knockout window. And I'm not sure it's where you put in a piece of plywood or something, you're waiting for the other window. I think it just looks wrong.
Sure.
So I'm not in favor of that
If
solution or that material in particular.
the composite cladding material, or are you just talking about that one window?
Well, there's one there, but then when we go to that material up there, I would think that people would think of run it on down through and let the window just stay by itself and not have a knockout panel.
Okay. I'm not opposed to that if that's what's holding up an approval.
That's fair. Yeah, other comments?
Option was on that, so.
Do you have anything else?
I don't.
Thoughts, David?
Yeah, but there should be a thicker element on the round cube on the one to the right.
Yeah, the frame around both sides, it must be just like the shadow line or something on the rendering. But the frame at the top and the side that outlines the composite cladding would be the same detail on both buildings all the way around. And it's represented in the detail that I printed out and sent around.
Let's keep going around.
I don't have anything else to add. I do agree with David on the horizontal trim pieces that are connecting the one white portion over to the lighter brown portion. Just seems unnecessary. And then because it doesn't carry over to the next unit. Other than that, I think I like it. I'm sure there's details that from the renderings and the drawings we have, I like it very much.
I don't have anything against the materials. So the different sizes of windows at every kind of bay around y'all. I don't think we're doing that thing, so.
The windows are the windows are the way they have been since they were approved a long time ago. I'm not opposed to adding. I understand the nature of changing from masonry to fiber cement. Changes the character of the building. I'm not opposed to adding a third window under the bay that David is talking about to make it more symmetrical there, and then carrying through the board and batten to the left of the hair on the right building.
Can we take out the brown ones?
Sure. Yep.
Specifically right here and here.
Yep.
That, and bring the more line down.
The far left direction.
The window removal,
Jim,
concur with that general motion.
anything else?
Yeah.
Okay, so he thinks, okay, can I agree to that?
I agree to that.
Okay, we're gonna make a motion, hopefully, is the motion?
So moved. Okay. So, north elevation,
removing the 5 board and batten panels. That makes sense.
Yep.
Not the architect. On the easternmost panel, replacing the lower bay panel with a window, and then just continuing the siding on the other.
Second,
What?
second, your motion.
Okay. All in favor?
It's the second one.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Yes.
Is there any chance we can do 889? I feel like it will be a fairly short one.
I can do it, as long as you can do it.
12.
I understand from that, so she had your back up.
Okay. Well, you're already sworn in.
Yes, I am.
Go for it.
So staff just has to advise to the staff.
Yeah, sorry.
I hope you're okay. It's just one of those I have everything in front of me, it's getting through pages. Multitasking have not been my strong suit. So number 12 is 889 4th Street. This application is to update the window configuration on the north and west elevations of the residence. Add a roof fence and remove previously approved landscaping on the west side and rear of the building and replace with hardscaping. The commissioners at the business meeting requested a landscaping plan and wanted to know why the landscaping was removed. Staff recommends approval of the application with the condition that the landscaping at the front of the house is retained or some landscaping is added to the area. Basis for recommendation is 3116.13, the standard for site improvement, as well as city code 16.11, the standards for alteration, specifically 1, 2, and 5.
We'll go through the elevations quickly. If we can go to sheet A 201. Past it. On the bottom right-hand corner, the approved elevation had one window in the center. We now have a pair of windows on each floor. On the top left, the approved elevation only had 4 windows. We added the small window that would be in the bathroom that is on like the first, yep, that pair, top and bottom. So with regard to the elevations, that was the only deviation from the approved plans. With regard to the landscaping is as it was proposed, with the exception that we removed the foundation planting at the intersection of the sidewalk and the covered porch on the south side. So if we go to G001, the first page. On the approved plans, if you can zoom into the kind of the front, there were some foundation plantings just below the covered porch. The site construction, all of the engineering requirements, dimensions from the parking lot just ended up pushing that sidewalk so far north that there just wasn't room for foundation plantings there. So that is the only change with regard to the landscaping from what was approved for this building.
So when it's shown on this drawing, you will be putting the shrubs and like on the south and on the east.
That's correct. Yep.
Now, is there a brick patio or part of the structure that is? Would do, right?
That is in the rear of the building, and I believe that is represented in the shaded area to the east of the 2 parking spots. So, well, we have what's south of the future property line blanked out. It does continue to the other building. No.
That walkway is
Hmm.
So I want to make sure that the house wins. Because that is what we have for almost a year and a half been talking about a longer to structure that you think like on that.
Well, I mean, we're in the house now, so it doesn't get built. We'll get a big code.
Yeah, I mean, we're, the zoning for all of this to get it separated has just been troublesome. So that's what's taken so long. If you need an explanation for why we haven't built that yet, but you know, that's been the delay, and we're here now to get this approved. Permit drawings are complete. We're ready to finish up and start construction.
To add to that, this was the news to me, oh, we just need this for the final stamp for building and zoning, and I know there's a couple of changes that have to do. We need to have those approved, which needs the process. See the end of it.
But we haven't indicated we have anything else beyond that. Robert?
I just have one question. What is the paved material? Is that this concrete sidewalk?
That's just concrete sidewalk, yeah.
And all that sidewalk is leading to this paved patio and to different spaces?
That's correct.
It seems like a lot of concrete. Some sidewalk.
Unfortunately, because it's a two-family and only the lower unit has, you know, kind of access to the site. I mean, from anywhere other than the porch. I mean, I guess neither of them have a rear door, but I mean, I think that's kind of why there's as much sidewalk as there is. Plus, just to the south of that sidewalk is all head-in parking for the site to the south. So I mean,
Was your concern that it was concrete, or would it be her desire to see that be more pervious?
Yes, I think, personally, I think it would make it a little more friendly and not so sterile if it were something less than, you know, a 5-foot wide sidewalk leading to a parking space and patio.
so we've got
The roots contend with paper materials.
Right. That's my negative one.
Approved though, can we?
I don't recall what.
the walk has been approved. It's just moved north a little bit.
So something is brick, changing material, something you all would consider.
It's not something that I can do here at this table today. There's some engineering involved in the curb there. There's only 3 feet 9 inches. So by the time we get in a, you know, extruded curb, I just am not sure about the viability of a 3-foot walk. And I mean, it makes sense, but I can't agree to it. There's some things I can and some things I can't without an owner represented.
Well, let's move on to that. Lauren, do you have anything? I think that's everything. So is this, Dave, do you have any additional comments?
I think Brooke raises a really good point, though. What are you gonna do with the 2 little spaces on either side of the concrete in that narrow alleyway that's just gonna be weeds and whatever? Why not recommend that the commissioners would rather have that based on pervious material?
I can certainly take that back to the owner. It may very well already be some of that. This site plan is rather old, so I will, sure. Yeah, I mean,
So you made a motion? Not yet, okay. So let's prove it with the understanding that the concrete walkway should be replaced with.
Or would it be better to continue the sidewalk until Carrick can get a final set on if that's possible?
Yeah, can we split it into building approval and site approval so we can move forward with a building permit?
Yes.
So can I have a motion for so part A is going to be building and part B is going to be the sidewalk. So
I'm a little-
for part A.
I'm a little worried site compliance is gonna put a hold on the whole thing.
Who will do that?
The site compliance is, it won't be an approved site plan. Cause you can't stamp the site plan if it's not approved by you folks. And then site compliance won't,
Seems like a quick phone call on your behalf to your client to say, this is the condition, then you will be able to stand up knowing that when you substitute the proposals.
sure, let's make it a part of the motion so we can move forward, and if we have to bring it back because you doesn't want to do it that way, then we'll do it that way.
Good.
Do I have a motion?
We approve the application with the condition that the concrete block from the connecting the two parking spaces and in the back doors are to be impervious material.
Is there a second?
Second.
David? Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for rearranging me so I didn't have to sit here for an hour. Thank you, folks in the audience, for being patient.
Okay, we're back now.
6. Okay, 6 more.
As they're getting settled, all of the staff report, this is to construct 2 outdoor patio spaces, one by the curb between the bus stop and the kitchen area, the other in the courtyard. The patio by the street would be 7 feet wide by 17 feet and 6 inches long. Patio in the courtyard would be approximately 6 feet and 5 inches wide by 10 feet and 6 inches long. The proposed fencing will be portable patio railing. I've included the minutes from the unit group 2020 hearing. The commissioners at the business meeting wanted to know which temporary railing would be installed. Not all commissioners were in agreement on which ones they were in favor of, but all of them agreed that these would not be a place for additional signage. Staff poses the question, when would the temporary railings and furniture be stored? Staff recommends approval of the application with the condition that the temporary railings and gates be stored during the winter months. Basis for recommendation is the Short North Design Guidelines, the commercial patios, and outdoor dinings. Basis as well as City Code 3116.11, the standard for alteration, specifically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 9.
Okay, so ready to take any from record, please?
Joseph Karifa.
So truth, your testimony is the best your ability this afternoon.
I do.
Okay, what do you want to tell us?
So I took in consideration what the commission said previously, and I agree the patio should be moved in a space that's not accessible by pedestrians necessarily. I think this satisfies the need of the fireproof and the people walking.
Questions from
I guess just a clarification. So you're saying that you'd be removing the patio between 5%, moving what?
No, we're not removing anything.
What are you saying, moving what?
basically removable.
Yeah, they want to be bolted down, just because it's a.
Yeah, I have nothing, as long as, we're able, that the bottom picture there, right, just like a typical iron situation with no advertising, I'm fine with both patio locations and the fact that they would be removable in the winter, and I don't know, staff, if you want us to give specific months, what winter means. I don't know what that means for.
Staff's okay with the general winter, because sometimes that means November, sometimes it means October, and sometimes it's just.
Sometimes it's
December.
our winter, yes. Yeah, okay, so, yeah, I have nothing else.
I'm not opposed to this at all. I just want to make sure I understand. It's the patio that's attached to the building. Is that the iron one example, and then the one that's along the curb is the temporary?
Yeah, they'd all be temporary. These were just two different options, no advertising. I was looking at precedent, so.
I'm fine with this.
Stay on this picture just for a moment. I apologize, I don't know, were you able to hear this one on this meeting? Okay, because Beth was pretty adamant about the orange one, being a color field was not a negative. When I heard you say, if it's only the black one at the bottom, I don't think he was opposed, and neither am I, to solid colors, but not branded with extra graphics, so that actually it could add some interest to the street. It's not different than if you're driving down the street now and we saw those orange
Yeah,
barricade type things. There's a lot of color there, and so that would be a continuation. It doesn't have to be orange, I'm not saying that, but it just can't have additional graphics like standard as illegally approved by us. So,
It's like,
yeah. So I guess I would rather see something with a color on it rather than the metal frame with a block.
yeah, I mean, I don't care either way, so I agree with that. Yeah.
So of these three images, the orange is possible, the blue, the white is not, and the metal frame, fine, but that understood.
Yes.
Just so I understand, the patio that you have on the High Street side is 8 feet or 8 feet 10 inches from the building, so that's walkable space.
correct. Same distance as the planter.
Previous meetings, it was proposed to be attached to the building, however, that totally blocked the sidewalk, given the planters, the base of one of the arch lights and a few other things.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot that this one, I think the paneling is probably potentially more appropriate than not, since there's gonna be a car in there.
And I want to, for my approval of this, I want to make sure that we say, this is a prototype that we want to support as an initial one. It's not necessarily something we're going to do again and again and again. I think the client is going to find out the one that's over by the ATM machine is going to be a total cost. It's not good. We had that discussion. We won't go into that. That's not in our jurisdiction, but it's also blocking getting access to the ATM machine, which I'm sure, is that a Huntington?
No, Heartland. Oh, yeah.
Sure, they're gonna have some issues with that, but we'll go back and evaluate it. I almost wish we put, much like we did with some of the early signage ideas, we said we're gonna try this for a year. This idea of prototype fencing in the area. We want to encourage it, but if those things don't go away in the winter, if they don't function well, they blow over, they fall into the street, that type of stuff. I think we want to make this clearly understanding that we're testing this one. I would encourage it in the motion to say that this will come back, or it has the ability to come back in a year to evaluate if we think there's problems for our side of it.
I don't have anything else, design. Yeah, I think I prefer the canvas, but I am not, I think this is, we're trying this out, so I don't know what's for you.
I prefer the canvas as well.
Okay, cool. All right.
So let's make a motion to approve the concept of temporary movable screening device for the seating areas. That we will have the right in 1 year to evaluate the effectiveness of this to carry it elsewhere in the short north on the Italian Village side. We would request that no graphics on portable fencing material. Color, however, would be acceptable.
I'm going to add in color to come to staff.
Yes, for the future.
Okay, good with that.
Yeah,
Okay, do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Thanks, Bob.
thank you, guys.
Okay, moving on. Some numbers, 7, correct?
1163 stay.
So this one was withdrawn by the applicants.
Okay.
Based on the feedback from the business meeting, they are planning on removing it and they're looking into installing a wrought iron fence, but with a couple of factors, they don't have the wrought iron fence right at the moment, so they're going to continue working with staff. And once they have the wrought iron fence, they will be, yeah, they'll be back with Jacqueline. So we have, if they're not here, we need to behave, we can't say things about them.
Okay, sounds good. So, number 8.
Yes, so this is 34th Avenue. So, and just a quick, that microphone's really, really good at picking up stuff, and we are live, which is what I want everybody to know. I said that before, I think you got it, yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, let's ask staff, yeah, we'll be sworn in after that.
So this application is for, as I said, 34th Avenue to let in power wash the front exterior, to add gooseneck lights to the south elevation, hang black awnings over the front and side doors. The awnings would measure 80 inches wide by 26 inches high by 25 inches deep, and 54 inches wide, 3 feet high, and 3 feet. And to add storefront signage to include a single 36-inch diameter sign and a 36 by 36 flat sign. The signs are to be routed wood and painted with various fonts. The height would range from 4 inches to 28 inches high. This also includes placement of vinyl graphics on the front door and the transom. The transom vinyl would be approximately 15 inches wide and 5 inches high, and the door vinyl to be 25 inches wide and 5 inches high. This includes adding a logo to the rear door and window decal of gold and white, and to paint the east wall ultimate gray and Pantone yellow. Commissioners at the business meeting did not support the painting of the front elevation where masonry had not already been painted. Commissioners discussed the possibility of exploring a more traditional signage such as a blade sign or a singular sign. Concern was expressed about how the proposed lights were mounted to the building, as well as the density of them. HBO staff would like to note that signage and lights mounted to masonry are required to be mounted into the mortar, not the piece of brick, which is some of what commissioners were worried about. Commissioners should be carefully considering the number of proposed lights. And does the proposed signage constitute as too much signage? And to its placement, is the wall sign still considered a wall sign? Per the short north design guidelines, the wall signs should be located within the signage band between the first and second floor windows. Where windows do not exist, the nearest building or buildings in the same block should be used for determining the window height. Staff recommends approval of the application with the following conditions. A scaled and measured drawing of the awning is provided, as well as a section drawing. The awning should have open sides and use responses for the short north design guidelines. The number of light fixtures is reduced and the basket over the light is removed. That signage is reduced. Revised drawings to be submitted to staff prior to issuance of certificates. Basis for recommendation are the short north design guidelines, specifically the general guidelines, the wall signs, window signs, and as well as City Code 3116.11, standards for alteration, 1, 2, 5, 6, and 7.
Have you to raise your right hand, state your names for the record,
Joe Bear? Okay.
and you promise to tell the truth and your testimony to the best of your ability in the Senate.
Yes.
Okay, great. Just tell us what we're saying.
We're seeking for approval, as she just reviewed, primarily for the lights and the exterior signage elements. We agree to attach the lights into the mortar where previous lights were already installed, and there's parts that are still there. So we would reuse those lights. The awnings that we were proposing are existing from our former location, so they are not designed to be open on the sides. So we can eliminate that from our request. We are interested in adding both an exterior blade sign, which you should have an updated drawing that shows you the blade sign with our logo. I have a printout here if you need that.
When did you submit?
After we were denied at the last meeting,
Well, the business meeting isn't a formal meeting, it's informal, so it's just for commentary.
it would have been between your last meeting and this meeting that it was submitted. So would you like me to share it? This blade sign is consistent with our neighbors on the same street of Fourth, and Enzo Tattoo has a very similar blade sign. So we designed it to be consistent with the neighbors.
Just for clarification, so that would be blade sign in addition to what
The blade
Not in
sign,
addition, in place of where the large round circle Z is.
yes,
So you would have a blade sign that was the Z and then individual 3.
yes, yes. We are a unique business, and the building is put in 3 sections. So the front will be our showroom, the middle space will be our design offices, and the back will be our production and for special garage sales. So we'd like to have that identification on the front of the building also.
Pass this around. The other thing is that, and then, what was your opinion, there was some concern about the different options, painted option, if you did a natural brick option.
We're okay with it. It definitely needs a power wash. It's dirty and the brick is not in the best condition. The building owner does not want to replace the brick, which is why we were interested in painting it. We looked at similar properties in the area, and there are other brick buildings that are painted on Mount Pleasant right behind our office. But if that's
I'm thinking the painting may also help sort of hold the brick together.
yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, we can go around. Strong sense against that, it's kind of, as much as it may be deteriorating, that's some vernacular.
We
It's
would,
character that is contributing, I think.
we would concur.
Okay, so what's going on here? Oh, I'm sorry.
We did suggest we are hoping to be able to paint that original picture. Another paint. Sort of there's a long black bar that runs across the top of the windows, at least being able to paint that one piece. Something closer to like Pantone match the brick color of the building. So at least that black sort of goes away.
I got you, yeah, that's.
Yeah, your packet right there, first of all, I'm in favor of the dimensional circular like sign rather than the size one would be on brick. One of your packet, in this packet, one of your drawings shows the 30, which is the address. Another one shows Marketplace being up in that, that one right there, for example. Mm-hmm. Below the awning you're talking about? Yeah, well, that, I'm putting that awning there. Yeah, I think the new plan shows the different version.
Yeah, in that packet, the 30 East Fourth is on the little transom part, and then Marketplace is on the actual door.
And that is on the inside of the door.
The white part of the vinyl is on the outside of the door, the metallic sort of outline would be on the inside glass.
Okay, well, I'm one of the ones that says brick should stay the color it is, and they were painting that as black, I think that's wood.
Yeah, it is.
To match the brick color would be fine. What I'm opposed to with all of this information out on the side is just way beyond the standards for scale signage.
So
We would approve lighted sign.
looking between this rendering and what you have in your packet, the signs are the same size. They're 36 by 36. But this one looks a lot smaller than this one, so it's kind of hard to see where scale is as far as what we're gonna see. You know, it's hard to prove a bunch of different things, but
Okay. Is there a standard size that you would like it to be that fits within the commission's guidelines?
I think like the length of the building, I think does probably easily sort of push that. I think the decision we need to make is whether this is three different businesses, because each would be allowed under the guidelines, if I'm not mistaken, to have their own sign. There were three separate storefronts here, for instance, this building. So I think that's where we're a little bit of gray area. And for me, I think, I also agree, I think one of the rendering is a little difficult to interpret. I actually don't think it would appear that big. The building is 36 by 36, is not actually that big. And that looks like it's rendered way bigger.
And this is rendered almost correctly.
Yeah, that's the new packet. This is an old packet.
Yeah. But now at this size, like that's the lane sign, and that's the posted sign in this packet, the sizing is correct.
what would you have an accurate address?
Yeah, if you tell us the size, we'd be happy to do that.
Come back also and say, I'm counting this rendering correctly. You've got one lower in the window, you've got one over the screens, and you've got one lower in the other window, and you've got a sign on the wall. That's 4 names on the front of the building.
Right, we're a window display company, so the two middle windows where we're adding the vinyl on the inside is to highlight our window displays and what we do as a visual merchandising company. If you want to edit those, we can easily remove those. But- Okay.
We don't want you on the building times.
No problem, happy to remove that.
Okay.
Another question actually, as far as the three business signs go, you also say to be mounted at 6 inches above the floor height. So I guess I don't know, does that mean it's gonna be lower to the ground? Does that mean?
I think it would be looking at the window, it would be, I'm not sure. It would feel right as you're standing there looking at it. We would want it to be at eye level, so I don't think it would be 6 feet off the ground. Or 6 inches.
6 inches. I think that's that typo thing. Somebody put the double hash, it's 6 feet.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I was like, 6 inches.
For the window decals, I mean, it's those orange.
That one, those are not even there in the new rendering. In that new packet, all the sort of the orange around is gone.
We can do the market, I mean, we could do a seasonal.
Yeah.
I put approval on it is one complete.
I do think part of that is that we're back on the system. I would recommend us trying to do this on systematize this.
Seattle, the Seattle team, that's it.
Right.
So that's what's good.
And if we do seasonal windows there and we wanted to say fall 2021, is that something that we have to seek approval for every time we do a new installation?
Inside of your windows, you're all free.
Technically, vinyls are usually applied to the exterior of a window for a store.
So I'm going to say that you're also going to check with the graphics commission as well. I know there's some business stuff that goes up that's seasonal, but I'm not sure about seasonal signage in a store. I don't recall
I would say most businesses deal with it by placing their creating graphics that actually get put up from the inside.
So interior window vinyls versus
Yes.
exterior.
Yeah, we don't-
Okay,
I'll also check on that too.
yeah.
Yeah. Whether or not it's allowed, it's what I see all over the shop. So.
I mean, traditionally, it's much more visible when vinyls are applied to the first surface instead of the second surface, so.
Yeah, but if you go
Okay.
around the neighborhood, I don't see vinyl.
Yeah, okay.
It's just as effective.
Just as a note, commissioners, I have looked at that packet at the end.
That's fine.
Yes.
And we'll make sure you get an emailed copy of it also.
Yes, because it may have gotten lost in my emails.
I think so,
Okay,
yes.
but we don't need this.
No, please.
Actually, I even have a second, like you can make a second one.
So one last question is, lights are there. How many do you have?
We do not. They were existing from a former tenant. If you go to the original picture of the building, well, actually, if you blow that one up, you can see.
It's a little square right at the tip of each one of the sort of rods. There's these
Oh,
little
yeah.
hooks right in the building.
I don't,
Right there.
Yeah. and
So you're proposing to move,
Mm.
at least?
no, we're saying those are there already installed in the mortar.
No, but what she's saying is, because in the renderings, we have them dead center over each window.
Oh,
So you're proposing to move those and create four new poles?
do you recall?
One, two, three, four, five, six.
There are 6 of them.
Yes. Uh-huh. I mean, we could do that if we remove the
You could
vine,
even go to
remove the awning. We
could even
can't
go to
use those existing. If we install the awning over the front door, we could just do 4 and then do the 2 that are existing.
I think this is the place.
Yeah.
Scrambling all of these. Let's have a complete packet.
Well, let's see what we can accomplish today. Let's just try and get through this. So, it sounds like we have a general consensus on the blade sign. Is there any issue with that, I guess? Okay, sounds good. What's our feeling on the wall signs, the 3 wall signs as proposed?
The ones in the new packet are okay. I'd like updated.
We got to vote for updated, but what are other people think about the 3? The three signs on the wall.
You mean update like one is in the packets.
There were the 3 rectangular signs, the marketplace and the garage sale.
Correct. Traditionally, our business is a design firm. We've never been in a focal space. This new space allows us to have a showroom or a storefront in the front, which is a new addition to our business. Our traditional business is a design firm, and that's going to be located in the center area of the building. The ZG garage sale will be in the back, and we'll be having seasonal sales with curated markets in our mini parking lot. So if you would like, we could just do the Zen Genius and the marketplace sign and only do the ZG garage sale when we have special events.
From my perspective, that would be better.
Fine.
I get, the existing locations of previous light fixtures, but it doesn't make any sense with the rhythm of the windows. So I can see that is probably important to you because you're a design firm. I do think there's too many lights, so I would get rid of the middle ones. And if you could give us detail that showed how the new fixtures were being attached to the brick into the mortar rather than the base of the brick, or even into that wood band, I would be in favor of the location that you're showing.
Since our display window will be in the middle windows, not in the 2 where you're suggesting to keep the lights, can we just keep the light over the middle window and just do 2 instead of 4? Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so we got some comments on the lights.
And I also agree with David on having, marketplace so many times, you know. If it's a sign over to the right, that's fine, or have it over the door, that's fine, but not on the two.
No problem. No problem.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have anything else? Shannon?
Has anybody discussed the yellow PMS color on the back of the building and what that's all about? Thoughts?
The idea there is it's a temporary mural, as is popular in the short north, to create a photo op. We would change that out each year as the new Pantone color of the year is announced. So it's really a temporary mural. We'd partner with the short north, SNA, to create whatever mural that is. So it's not a permanent feature.
So it's will change with the color of the year.
That's,
And we'll say Pantone and whatever that color is for the year.
we're not sure we need to call out what the color is or that it's Pantone color, but
Okay.
yeah.
It might just be a very big yellow.
Yeah, and then people will ask what that is, so.
Right.
Yes, but if you'd prefer it to be listed Pantone, we could do that.
Just
Yeah. So it's modeled after the idea of Fred Siegel, or Perry Ellis store in Los Angeles, where you stand behind the pink background and take a picture. That's the concept there. We figured you wouldn't approve painting the entire building yellow, so we just didn't. Although we love that idea.
Okay, other thoughts on the paints in general? Let's discussion.
Not necessarily opposed to it, enjoying its time blocking straight edges, like here it all is as wide as you think the garage door, which is the square, and then probably easier to think than become blocked and straight lines.
Correct.
Few years in this neighborhood, and I have never seen this elevation in 22 years. So it isn't going to be anything particularly overwhelming or.
So the color's not going to be too kind of in your face, it's gonna be more subtle being back there.
But all this looks like you could do the door and have fun with that.
We could, I don't know if that's a great photo opportunity though, to stand in front of the garage door. So that's the idea there.
Okay, so it sounds like we have agreement on the blade sign, the painting, the not painting of the front. There's still a little bit of unclarity on the number of location of lights and get over the three signage. So fairly standard staff, so we can possibly issue sometime in the next 7.
So I suggest breaking it up into pieces, parts, approve what we can, continue what is still kind of in flux, or we're unsure about. We can work through and get advice.
Well, no, I mean, it sounds like, let's first just get through the parts we know.
Yes.
And then we can get the second motion to figure out what's happening with the lights.
So what we really wanted with the document to show us exactly where the blade sign goes. We didn't, that wasn't really nailed, so we were all in favor of a blade sign, but, and make sure that it's bounded in a way that it doesn't damage it any further. I think we've approved the painting of the wood surface over all the windows. We want to see a reschedule of how many light fixtures and where they are.
Unless
If they have decided to own the marketplace on the front, or whether they still want true names on there, the sales is a seasonal thing, not to be really an opportunity for.
Let's try to get a motion. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna move that, Belkis, can you move back to the front? Sure, because that's gonna help me jog my memory. That we approve this application with the condition, that the awning, we are not doing the awning, correct? The awning is not approved. There will be 2 lights, one in each middle bay window. Marketplace will be removed from the middle door. Right, is that what we're doing or not? Oh, you know, never mind. Garage, the garage sale is being removed from the bottom of the, wall mounted sign. The, logo sign is going to be blade mounted. Both the blade mount and the, wall sign are going to be in the dimensions, based on what was submitted today, physically to staff. That packet will also be emailed to staff. And the packet will also include how each light fixture is mounted into the border, as well as how the blade sign is mounted in the border, as well as how the flush wall sign is mounted into the brick border. And paint is approved on the top wooden bar.
And on the side.
And the side paint is approved. The mural is approved.
So it would be the sides in the rear building that are being painted, because they're previously painted.
Correct. I think I get that.
Oh, and the brick shall just be power washed, it shall not be painted.
Thank you.
And I think you were applying it, but I just want to make sure that, those details are okay to satisfaction of staff.
Correct.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good motion.
Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate that. And kindness and good energy. Also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 11, it's by Summit Street.
Just my edits. Come on, that's your artist. And-
Well, there's a stand?
Yes, sort of.
Oh, that's what.
You gotta flip the whole thing over. And it just sort of leans. Okay.
Do we have 803, 805 Summit here?
So,
All right, so I'm going to skip that and see if they come in a little later, because I don't want to read the staff report when they're not here. So we have 799 Summit. Okay, instead of me going through these. What are we here for? I got 1, 3, 4, 7, is that both of you? Or when are you here?
I'm 15 and 35 beauty analyst.
Okay.
that's,
So-
just when that's the people who are here.
Sometimes it pays to get to your anchor. I appreciate it. I was told that. Okay, so. Yes. So number 85857 Hamlin Street, which is one of our conceptual. This is the conceptual review to construct a 2.5-story brick duplex with 2 attached garages, as well as to improve the variances, which include a minimum lot width, the R4 area district requirements, maximum allowable building coverage, the required building setback, the width of the 2 required side yards, and minimum side yard permitted and the rear yard. I've included the February 19th, 2019 hearing minutes on the staff report. Commissioners at the business meeting noted that after previous discussions, there was a change in the trees being removed. Commissioners also noted that those reducing vision triangles have resulted in very few accidents and that they should proceed cautiously. Staff reports the recommendation of variances for the application, with the exception of the vision triangle. Commissioners should offer design feedback that can be utilized by the applicant to further refine the proposal at future hearings for the design portion. Basis for staff recommendation is 3116.12, these standards for new construction. And I would also like to note that a new portion of the packet was submitted on Friday, and I have to apologize. It got a little avalanche in my inbox, so I just got it up today.
Will you please raise your right hand, state your name for the record?
Elizabeth Lighting?
And you promise to tell the truth, to the best of your ability, and your testimony is that.
I do.
Okay, great. So you explain what we're seeing, and just to remember, everybody, as I just said, jumped ahead, this is essential.
Yes, so we are submitting for a lot split of this site, and we'd like to present the variances that we are proposing with that lot split and building a new duplex and double two-car garage on the site. We'd like to see if the footprint and the outline looks okay, as well as the materials and what we are proposing with some of the setbacks.
Okay, is there anything particular you want to tell us about the design before we kind of jump in? Just your thoughts?
Yeah, well, we feel like the design fits nicely in the neighborhood, being sympathetic to some of the surrounding buildings. And then allowing for a significant development of the two-family duplex for the owner. And then to kind of put back the character of that corner as well. So there was, I believe, I have to go to the, if you can go to the last slide, please. I think it is the historic, I think it's the Sanborn map. Yeah, and I think the Sanborn map will show that there was an existing lot split there. Very similar to what we're proposing. I believe that that is it. The other question that we wanted to kind of present to you was that if you have any comments for over the garage, we've proposed roof decks. And if there would be any opposition or any kind of clarification you can give on those roof decks as well.
Okay, sounds great. Anybody in particular want to start on this one?
What? No.
Anyway, so, anyway, I live in a different spot. We can talk about that later. So, yeah, I think, you know, this is one of those situations where, what I like isn't necessarily what is feasible. I like the fact that it's a big open lot. I like looking at it for the last 20 years. And it's always been an open lot, apparently, at least since 1921. That being said, you know, I don't think, as you said, you know, it's reasonable that we could assume that this could have been a split lot at some point. And it looks like it was. It's certainly not atypical development to have houses fronting the avenues and other houses fronting on the streets before the buildings down. And obviously down here and it's across the street and a bunch of places. So, you know, in ideal world, so it would just remain greater green space that I can tell all the time. Understanding that there is a legitimate development pattern that you're trying to fit into. I do think that kind of split. I will say, you know, that tree is pretty remarkable right there as far as identity characteristic of that portion of the neighborhood. You know, I don't know if there's any possibility you can construct what you're trying to do on there. I think maybe a single home could do it. Tree to remain, maybe even that would make it. That being said, I think for me, I'd like to see some kind of strong commitment to replacing over time, at least some aspects of what that tree brings to that fight.
And that would be, maybe a commitment to a more substantial planting than you otherwise would, we're never making a condition like this. Fortunately, everybody noticed we got that really, got the established street tree going on Fourth, and then it didn't make it down. My London plan there is gone, so I'm trying to find another spot. At least we can get a couple decent trees here in this area. That being said, the curb cut, of course, is a source of concern. You do have an argument that there is a curb cut directly across the street, which is very unusual on Hamlin, but it doesn't exist for a garage that's right there. I think in your rendering, it suggests that that rear drive may be an alternate material that may be permeable, particularly as you get away from the exact concrete apron of the interface with the street. I think that would be great. Or that it can soften what the overall impact of the lawn coverage is, that'd be very beneficial. Personally, I think the small balconies overlooking that area, I think are well overkill. I can't say I vote no because of it, but I think I prefer without it. Being said, I don't see what everybody else says about it. I think the most important thing to me is, I think what you're trying to accomplish, I know, scroll down there a couple places, urban order. Steve did one of these drawings years ago. I think to be in a comparable scale with the units that are setback, and to respect the way that pattern has been down the street. There have been historically a series of duplexes and multifamily units that remain along the street. So I think you've got a good precedent there. So that's kind of a long-winded way of saying I think you're on the right track in general. I'm not thrilled about the curb cut. I know at one point we looked at a way to get in off the alley. That became very difficult due to the proximity of the building to the lot line. So I think begrudgingly I can probably accept it, but I certainly would like to see the real permeable materials, and then just a lot more information about exactly what the exterior materials of the building are. So with that, I'll pass it to whoever is ready to go next.
I'll go next. I agree with everything Jason has just said. I do feel really bad about losing that tree. We just lost a tree in front of our house that was, it was taller than our house, and another that we had from the 1950s of our house. And it was heartbreaking to see that tree go, but I get it. I'm just saying it. I do think the comments about a more permeable or a permeable material for the driveway and patios should be considered. And I also say that the style of the house is appropriate. It seems very sensitive to the area. I agree that the balconies make a lot of sense, and particularly with an aluminum rail. If they were staying, I think something different as an enclosure would be more appropriate. And final comment would be that I believe the front porch steps are concrete or wood. I think you might want to consider stone or something other than, wood gets slippery, it's a maintenance issue, and I think stone, limestone or something would be more appropriate than the concrete.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
I don't think you get that as far as design is concerned. I was looking at the photos that you have kind of 360 of the street, and I guess I'm just curious as to if the church it's across the street, what their vision triangle is compared to what's going to be across the street. I guess it looks like it's pretty close in fact, but if they're also encroaching on it and it's fine with them, then there is not an issue with traffic.
It's a little one you can see over it.
Yeah, I'm still, I guess I'm less concerned about Division Triangle, since we're in such a residential area. I mean, I'm concerned, but, and I have no comments on the architecture. So I guess that would be the only thing, is if there was any way to, I mean, going from 30 to 11 is pretty substantial.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm standing, I'm sorry, still does look very. Okay, other thoughts or other questions you have for us today specifically?
So they did request the variance.
Yeah.
I guess the question for everybody is, do you feel comfortable? Stage.
Well, it was conceptually reviewed 2 years ago, since it's been a little while, I put it back on as conceptual. I mean, you do have the option to recommend variances, and if the design changes, the applicant can come back with updated ones. I mean, it's a little bit more work on your end to kind of revise stuff and go through the motions all over again. But, I mean, if you're comfortable with it and the commissioners are comfortable with it, I'm okay, because we've seen the variances come back a number of times, and we've also seen them approved as part of the conceptual review before too.
Yeah, I'd say the only, and a lot of these are going to give everybody. I'd say that the biggest concern that I would have is just to finalize what the permeable area will be. That I think it just be more of a note. Since we're recommending the variances that, I think we're doing this, I'm doing this under the premise that there would be a permeable surface in the rear in order to kind of mitigate some of that lot coverage that we're talking about. And then, of course, I think obviously public safety is going to have to weigh in on the vision triangle, so less concerned with that. And there's some of the routes on both sides too. Is that consensus that we feel comfortable that we can make motions to recommend the variances?
Yeah, I'll recommend to approve the variances.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, so one abstention, yes. So your motion to recommend the variances has been approved, so we'll take that forward to the DA. And then you're on to the map, draw application.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right,
Appreciate it.
I think we got some more, somebody else, probably good water dance, so maybe you don't have to see what they are.
So I'll call a couple. We have 803 to 805 Summit. 7 and 9 Summit. Okay. So we are going to move on to number 13. And
So how many we skip that just one?
I've lost count. I counted which ones we still need to do.
Yeah, so we still need to do 11.
Order. Now, I am going to know Shannon will get out there real quick. Does anybody else need or want a break, or should I go to reading the staff report? So can we take a break? We are broken. The blood.
And
Yes, is it okay with the applicant? If we take a 2-minute break?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know she's got you up here.
That's all right.
Just one of those.
2 minutes is not a big deal.
should we count down or set again?
Well, I was actually going to go back there on my way.
Yeah, just pretend it's gonna work.
Because I was going to interrupt you guys to ask somebody to turn that up, because I figured that you didn't know. You doing okay? Well, you're back here. You feel free to. I mean, I don't have control over it, so it's kind of like,
I'm wondering if we really have.
I think it's just a mental thing that they want us to do.
I think they could use that. Well, still. Yeah.
one big ice cube, still slowly melting behind this curtain. It's fire.
Well, I have to do that soon.
Six.
I mean, I got to take it.
Yeah.
So it's weird.
Yeah.
No. Well, when something interesting and
I know, Sandra.
so I'm gonna go out at 6, that meeting, and I'll put that in out.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for your patience. So to get back on track with 799 Summit Street, this application is for the landscape, front and rear yard of the property, demolish the existing deck, adding a retaining wall, utility improvements, hardscape construction and landscape installation. The front yard should have an entire courtyard patio with a sculpture, rear gravel parking area proposed, and decorated gravel to surround the cellar doors. Existing wood fence is to be painted black, and a 6-foot privacy fence is to be added, also to be painted black. Commissioners at the business meeting noted that a 6-foot privacy fence is not appropriate in the front yard. For the Italian Village guidelines, front fences should either be wood picket or wrought iron. Commissioners noted concern about the permeability of the property. They're worried about water runoff, and gravel is not an appropriate parking surface for City Code 3312.43. Staff recommends approval of the application with the condition that per the Italian Village guidelines, the front fences can be a maximum of 30 to 36 inches and must either be the wood picket or the wrought iron, and permeable pavers should be used in the parking area. For previous IDC approvals, not gravel. Basis for recommendation is a 3312.43, the required surface parking. And the Italian Village Historic Guidelines, fences and enclosures. And I will note the applicant did send an updated packet to update that. I know the front fence area was the parking also updated.
I don't know if he had a chance to update it or not, to be quite honest.
So both of our numbers.
Yeah.
That's okay. But I'll give this back over to you, Jason, since we're our applicant.
Okay, sounds great. You raise your right hand, state your name for the record. You state your names.
Oh, Stacy Richardson,
And
sorry.
then you promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability this afternoon.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Thanks. So tell us what you know.
Well, I've owned this property since 1999 and finally what I've wanted to do since we purchased it was to get it updated and have it presentable. So what we're proposed is to demo and fancy up everything from the front to the side of the house and all the way back to the rear, back to the 3-car garage in the rear of the lot. We prefer to have some off-street parking. This little parking lot, our landscape architect drew up using gravel, and we can easily switch that out to a permeable paver. There is a bit of a slope going from the garage down to the from the house down to the garage, so he has notated that, and I don't know if he updated that or not, to be quite honest, but so that's about as much as I know.
Okay, that's pretty good. So, let's go through from commissioners who has thoughts. Lauren, you want to jump in on this one? That's you.
Yeah, I'm good with everything as long as we're not doing gravel for parking, but everything else looks great to me.
The fence is gone at the front end. I'm having a hard time understanding the
So there will be that wood picket fence, which Elvis is zooming in on here.
sorry.
So it's the fence in front is going to be that wood picket fence that's being shown. This is just a example of what it's going to look like. This is not actually the fence.
Correct.
No, they were that and then gravel being eliminated.
It's just my clarification. What's that? You access those two, how do you get to those two parking spaces? Do you have?
Well, there's an alley. Don't ask me the names, because I don't know if I'm sure they have some kind of names, but you can access it from, well, that's a one-way alley.
I'm looking now, I see there's like a little vestige right there.
Yeah, and there's a little square area that I believe somebody owns. It's kind of a little bit of a strange roundabout. You can access it. Right now, there's a fence in the way, but we'd obviously remove that so we could access it.
Yeah, okay, I know. Okay, yeah, anything else either? Did you hear the motion? With staff conditions, correct? No?
Yes.
All right. And you agree with staff conditions with regard to the fence?
Yes, sir. Yep, absolutely.
Sound good. Do I have a second? Oh, yeah, the affirmation. Have a second, Lauren. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? And abstentions? Okay. Thanks a lot. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Still haven't done that, correct?
And number 14, Drew has the application.
Is there anything besides the
No, so far it's just 11.
just 11? We got everything else. We're down to 16. From 16. Right? Are you up to me? You go for 16 or 16? Oh, you're here that? Okay.
Come on up.
All right, sounds good.
I have a feeling 11 might not be showing that.
Well, it's still kind of well done.
I don't feel bad. I'm gonna go on this last one.
Well, I have to
This
abstain.
is the last one. You're just saying.
So somebody has to.
Well, we need a forum. And before we see it.
You decide that?
Well,
If you have the quorum, then I guess it's gonna be.
but no, and our legal counsel has left us.
Yes.
It's one of those, I always need legal and legal's not weird. But I know we did that once when we started the meeting with everybody present and then somebody left. And I got clarification that a quorum has to be here, so we
Okay,
can.
fair enough.
So I apologize.
However, both of these are conceptual, correct?
Yes,
So we wouldn't make any final decision. We just carry on a dialogue.
I still believe we need to have a quorum.
Right.
Great, okay, let's just like getting a response from the client.
All right, I'm gonna try to get you through this. Quick
Response given, I'm fine.
All right, so this is 7 East Fifth Avenue for the landscaping. This is a conceptual review to demolish 3 buildings throughout sites 1, 2, and 3, and landscaping for these sites. The documentation provided does not demonstrate if the buildings are beyond repair. While industrial in nature, these buildings need to be evaluated for their eligibility as part of the rare minority of manufacturing area in Italian Village. It is standard practice for demolition to be reviewed in tandem with the proposed design. The HCO staff would like to conduct site visits with commissioners present, as is usual when the demolition of any building is proposed within the historic district. Commissioners, as usual for the conceptual reviews, should offer design feedback to be used at a future hearing. The basis for recommendation are the standards for demolition, which is City Code 3116.14 and 3116.13 standards for site improvement, which note landscaping, parking, or services, walkways, and similar improvements should be compatible to each other and the subject buildings or structures, as well as adjacent intruding properties, open spaces, and the overall environment. So since Jason's not here, Shannon, this is all back to you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's okay.
Can you both state your names for the record?
Sure. Dan Haynes, Tony Roll.
Do you promise to tell the truth to the best of your ability this evening?
I do. Yes.
You go first.
Okay, let me start off real quick, and try to get through this. So, we've looked at this, both of these sites for architecture. Now we're coming in for conceptual review for landscape. We've also coming in, for the demo. I just heard, the notes from staff. Do you think all 4 of those, or we've got listed here as 3, but all 3 of those buildings are the same? I mean, like, is the guard shack of substantial stuff that we need to make sure that it's, or are we talking about other ones?
Well, typically when we look at the buildings from town, we do a site visit, the
Okay.
commission looks at them or their, and then and evaluating them as well. I mean, this is typically done in tandem with the architecture,
Sure.
so we would have this before, but you're dealing with it now.
Okay, so we'll talk about that. Let me have Tony sort of broadly go back through. I mean, we've not changed much in sort of massing or traffic flow, but we have developed landscape, so.
Yeah, so here on the site plan, you'll see that Grant and Third and Detroit are all extended through the site. Alignments are provided for Fourth to extend in the future. We've provided on-street parking and street trees, sidewalks where it makes sense on the plan, given the current configuration, since we don't own the adjacent properties at this time. We've also included a pool courtyard, both on site 1 and at the north end of site 2 and 3. There's also a dedicated green space at the south end of site 1 right now, against the Clark Grape Factory. And there's also landscape at the entry to the building, as well as naturalized plantings that will occur along the railroad tracks to help provide some screening from the project. And then along the properties that are manufacturing adjacent, we're proposing replacement of the existing chain link fence with new coated chain link fence, anticipating this is generally a temporary condition as those uses transition over time, and are proposing extending the wood horizontal fence that station immediately to the south, extending that kind of along the alley and at the townhomes in site 3. And then additionally, in site 3, we're proposing head-in parking behind the western building and angled parking behind the eastern building. On the pool deck here at site 1, you'll see we've got cabana proposed, fencing around the pool, and the kind of the typical furnishings. We're also proposing outdoor spaces for the tenants.
I think one thing we want to hit on site one as well is sort of, I think actually from recommendation of this commission is sort of a creation between what we were calling the warehouse building and the townhouse building at the south, a sort of an alleyway ends in the pool and then goes around and it goes back out to the street. So it's sort of the sidewalk kind of has a reminiscence of brick alleyway as well too.
And it'll have a nice terminal view to the pool from both looking south and looking north, and then it'll terminate into kind of the green space, and we'll make sure it has a nice terminus there as well.
Any other comments from the applicant?
Could you be more specific? The word chain link fence bothered me. Yes, I heard temporary, but.
So along the railroad tracks today, there's a chain link fence. There's also a chain link fence along the current Grave Vault property, and both at the west along the other, I forget the name of the property to the west.
I think.
And so the intent is that we're generally replacing existing chain link fence with nicer, cleaner, vinyl coated black chain link fence. We're also providing landscape along those fences in almost all locations to help screen that as well.
Landscape curbs and then fence.
Correct.
As a registration board.
Correct.
David, do you have anything else?
No.
Brooke?
I don't have anything to ask right now.
I also don't have anything to ask right
Yeah, I think it looks good. That's just only conceptual, right?
Right.
Yeah. So landscaping looks okay.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about demo? Right.
Yeah, so David on demo, do you have any?
I think this is one that I would need to really rely on staff to make visitations, is that correct?
We have not yet. We are saying we should make visitations and we should probably coordinate that with some commissioners as well, which would be typical looking at demolishing buildings.
If we did a bacteria for one part of that, but
No, I don't.
you said there were certain things that were sacred, really contributing, others weren't, and could be modified or eliminated, so that's.
And one of the buildings that we have seen within my tenure here, they saved the cornerstone and reincorporated it with the new building. So kind of evaluating like that, or the entire building.
Yeah, those apartments on Second Avenue, the city building back there. But I'm not familiar enough to comment on these pictures that are shown there. Obviously, not offering any positive ideas, but.
Well, are you guys gonna visit it or are we gonna do a site visit?
I will try to set one up. Yeah, I think it definitely needs to happen. I was thinking we might have some further discussion here, but I will see what schedules allow and coordinating with you. Because Jacqueline will be taking over in August, so it'll be the two of us and probably James Goodman as well to come out, especially for a smallish building. And then I'm gonna say for the sake of it, we have a member of staff, so she might join us just to see what the process is.
And then you have to use someone on the commission. Sure, one of us can do that, however, I would recommend, if possible, an architect. So, Rucker, Page, right, which is an architect.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think that's everything for this application.
Okay, you gotta go.
Yes.
Was this the only one that I had to be here for?
I don't.
There are more applicants out in the hallway.
I don't know who Jason is talking to.
Yeah.
I don't recognize a lot of the applicants because
Yeah,
with being on computers, we get like inch by inch
Sure.
picture, so it's kind of like he looks slightly different in person, but I don't know if he's,
It's coming in now.
okay. So, any questions from you guys for the rest of the commission? Or-
No, no.
Well, thank you very much,
Thank you.
especially for waiting. But.
Can I leave now, is this, or no?
Jason, you're good. You don't have to, maybe you, thank you for the information.
I don't think so. I think I'm covered now.
All right, good. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you.
Right. We are 70. Yep.
Are you two here for 17?
Well, I'm here for 17, yes.
Okay. We have perfect timing.
Yeah, I think my client will be bringing in, we were thinking it was gonna be at 6:30, you know.
Yeah, I do too, and this is not gonna be a schedule. We are so distributed and a little faster than we're going to do virtually.
Not sure what happened. See, it's just come over, I think I would've been fast.
Because it's, oh,
Yeah, you're right. It's earth.
it's a little more traditional, but it's also very unpleasant to temperature. Okay, so we are on 1747 and 53 East First Avenue. This is the conceptual relief construct a 2.5-story townhouse building of a height of 32 feet. The proposed design would require a lot split and a competition for 47 and 53 East First Avenue. The existing structures on East First Avenue will remain. The commissioners at the business meeting requested scale measured drawings of the building site plan and elevation drawings for the proposed project in the existing buildings. Commissioners were pleased with the 2 units. They thought this was appropriate. The overall height was commented on as being too tall. Concern regarding the window scale was also raised. The portions looked more suburban. Not all commissioners thought the gable roof was appropriate. Some thought it looked like the townhouses functioned like a large suburban home. Commissioners should offer design feedback that can be utilized by the applicant to further refine the proposal for future hearings. Basis for recommendation is City Code 3116.12, the standards for construction.
All right, will you, raise your state name
Michael Maestros,
and your hostile truth in your testimony that you will release this afternoon?
I do.
Okay, great. Oh, it's your stage. Tell us what you think.
Okay, well, since the business meeting, I did make some changes based on some of the comments that were made during that meeting, and also going back to the previous online meeting that we had. So one of the biggest things, obviously, the height of this building has come up several times. So I finally was able to put together a sort of streetscape on that alley to really show exactly what's going on with the existing pre-Civil War house on First, then our project, and then roughly the location of the Prescott project that's also going through this, and then the house on the other end. So it's pretty much the full alley scape to really show the approximate heights of the existing structures and currently the 2 proposed, just to the peaks of the roofs, just to help show the scale there. So as far as some of the design changes that were made, some of it goes back to one of the comments I believe Jason made, as far as like wanting to see this more as possibly looking more like 2 carriage houses rather than one bigger house. The last design, it was commented that it kind of looked more like just one single residence. And so this alteration keeps a lot of the features similar, but definitely defines this as 2 projects rather than one. So really, as far as the rest of the concepts go, it's pretty much it's very similar to what we had before, and during the business meeting, the sort of 3rd floor balconies become even more kind of obscure in the sense that they are, there's not even the open railing anymore. We were trying to allow for
to have that exterior sort of balcony for the tenant, but not have it be overwhelming, an overwhelming presence for the neighbors. So it's kind of concealed behind, or kind of within the roof itself. I'm still trying to keep the scale down a little bit better on the, on that north side, closer to the pre-Civil War house. I know it's not much, but it do keep the eave line down a little bit more on that side versus the other, to try to respect that the historic nature of that house. So really those were the changes. The site plan, the only modifications that were made site plan wise, I moved the building back a little bit. The client had wanted to see if there was a way to get another parking rather than just have the garage parking, since these are they are 2-bedroom units. So there's usually 2 cars involved. So that was that's what I guess drove the change on the site plan, just trying to get that extra just exterior parking off the alley there.
Great, thanks. Brooke, you want to start off on this one?
I think I remember this, and I think you've taken care of the concerns that were brought up at that time, and I don't have anything further to add to it. I think have been successful in making it look like 2 individual carriage houses or dwellings, and providing the elevations of the contextual elevations of the houses and elevations of those is helpful. So I'm good with this conceptual review. Is this a conceptual review? Yes.
On this particular, I like the term alleyscape. The windows and the scale of the door don't feel appropriate to me. So I don't understand why on the second floor you've gone to all of the whatever, but if you look at the historic house again, the simpler window and the one at that end and the one that is the Civil War, pre-Civil War one, why all sticking in the windows, and why not bigger windows proportionately to that doorway? Just was totally off. I also don't understand, what is the material that you're using? I assume that's brick on the 2 houses.
Yeah.
What's in the middle then? It's almost like, I don't know, something that isn't reading correct. Do you have anything like something broke?
It was going to be a board and batten.
I see what you're saying. Yes.
I just don't think that fits in the canopies over the door is rather odd. A porch or more traditional in the neighborhood. Again, draw from the Civil War house, they come back. Now, let's go to the site plan then, please. And we've had a huge problem in the past with this not having any street parking. There's something that somebody pretends is a curb cut. It's not. It was a handicap access to get across the street. And yet this always ended up with cars being parked in the front yard. We allowed them to pave this area back here. Now it looks like we've totally eliminated all the parking. This is stopped having the parking for those 2 houses. Excuse me, I'm frozen. The 2 units here, where are they parking? We're losing all of that because that's going away. And I think that has to be addressed before we can approve these other 2. We can't take the parking away from the front houses, the historic houses, and expect the buildings to do this.
I can't remember what the timing was.
I've got garages, why do we not? And you and I know, because we know this area so well, that to the left, where right where the alley is, you get back a car out, there's a tree growing along there. That alley is so narrow. That's why it's really important, every one of the commissioners drive by this, go down, that, by the way, it's a one-way alley. So that's another, just think of the confusion we're adding by adding the other ones, which was a bit an issue. And now we're eliminating all the parking for 48 and 47 and 53 for these stores. So I can't be enthusiastic about it until we talk about where's the parking that's being eliminated for those units. Lauren?
I haven't made that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not going rid of this little weird sliver of stuff back here. 2 days ago. Yeah, I don't know what the answer is going to be now. So, and then that's kind of over. So I understand. It's actually what's cut back. The other side, which I guess is the west side of it. So yeah, that being said, I think that the distance that you are placing that, that's some flexibility overall as far as the overall design, just weird. It's weird. I mean, I think it's one of these strange spots where if this alley was elsewhere, it would not have this level of interest because it's, so was the high street. So, I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is in my brain. Every time I walk past it, I try and figure it out. I think it's less of an issue where the alley comes up. So, the one that's further to the south seems like it's gonna work. I just am worried about how that other one's going to function. I obviously don't have to figure it out, but I think it's probably worth going out there and figuring out how much of that plant material is gonna have to come down that is maybe in the right of way.
You have some telephone.
Yeah, or what's going on out there, just to like give us a sense of like how that car is gonna get in and out of that thing. Cause I think in reality, what's probably gonna end up happening is, I don't even know if that second spot's gonna work as well as the one that's further toward the middle divider. Just because of the difficulty of getting in and out of that. It's almost like you almost use that just to swing in and out of the one car you're getting in your garage. But anyway, that's the kind of specific element of the site design. I think you could successfully do this development approach if you think about the fronts of that in a way that is, I think, in a little bit similar to an alley. I'm just going to do a random naming game. And what the heck's that alley that cuts across where you go behind the old aisle with the college? So College Alley cuts between Hamlet and Fourth. And there's a series of row houses there. And what they did is not dissimilar to this. They have some head-in areas, and it's highly landscaped in between each of the individual driveways. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, then you'd have different paver materials like in between where the cars are. So it really tends to kind of soften that. And I think it's pretty successful. It's another spot that you don't just walk by. So check that out as an example. But anyway, enough of that. I don't know if I can kind of visualize it. We can flip back to the architecture real quick. I just want to strengthen what David was saying. I cannot figure out what I was not feeling about this, and David, I think, nailed it. I think the elements are caught in between the industrial-esque nature of what's right next to you that's getting built and the historical characteristics of the end. So I think you can kind of push further in one direction or the other. So for instance, instead of that sort of somewhat industrial canopy over the door, make it a porch if you're going to stay traditional. And if you're going to stay traditional, like David said, make the windows bigger so that they're more in scale of a traditional Italian village gable front house. It just feels like the front of it reads kind of flat right now. And I think it's okay to read flat if you went more with an industrial style flat. But I think it's more like flat historical, which doesn't work, as opposed to flat industrial, which could work. So I think either way you could go, in my opinion. You could go more industrial and have it be more linear, less gabled, and different types of windows that are more
in keeping with what's next door and or, casement style windows, whole different look. Or keep it this way, but extend the windows and put a regular front porch on it and make it appear to be, even though it doesn't have a garage door in front, somewhat in the keeping of the style of the Italian village vernacular, which I know is true. Those front doors or with the garage doors in the front. So I don't know if that makes sense. So I think you've heard from everybody. What are your questions for us?
Well, I guess a comment, during the business meeting, I know Benjamin had concerns when I had the windows bigger, the proportions weren't working for him. So I guess on the, I'm always stuck between like one, as far as needing to have like egress windows out of the bedrooms. Once we get a little more narrow, that's when we have to kind of switch over to a casement to actually have it work for egress purposes. So I'm sometimes stuck a little bit on proportions in that sense. I don't really have a preference between, going with either the industrial versus the traditional. My original, when I was first looking at this, I was trying to go more traditional. That was when it was a 3-unit concept, which obviously was too dense for this, and it was a 3-story as well. So I would be okay with going back to a more traditional, concept here. I think it is more appropriate, given the rest of the context here. So if I'm fine with going that way. I guess my question comes back down to to that window.
Lengthening more than they if it doesn't have more mass of windows, I think it's, at least for me, I don't know what you're thinking, proportion is just sort of lengthening those. Or keeping the what's on the end, on the right side. Maybe it's simple, I just can't tell because it's different side though. But
And even the houses just across on Prescott Alley. There's some really excellent example of very close front doors and that type of thing that you could draw from. Also, would you in your landscape plan, when you come back to us, if it goes a site plan, explain how anybody gets out the back doors. There are walkways, zooming in too far, please, come back out. I'm talking about the back doors. There is any sort of walkway to get around to the front, the alleyway, because those are all, that's all. Specifically, again, sorry, I'm talking about where are the walks? Where do you go to get out of the back door? Where you get back to any of this? And if it's gonna come through in this area, and we've got to see the parking that we're taking away for these units.
There's, I didn't really have any thoughts about coming up and around from the back. The back was more of just a sort of back patio where you'd go out and you'd have maybe a small paver area just to have a patio seating and that was it. There was not really going to be a connection to a physical connection to the front yard around the side or anything. So it was just a backyard area. And then as far as the parking concern, that's something that we'll have to go back to. We had one scheme at one point, we had the building pushed back further in order to try to have that parking up front. But there were concerns about that option as well. So that is something that we've looked at or could relook at, of course.
I think it's too far back from the, they don't think this is great, like an entire parking lot. I like that this parking code should be buildings. I think this has to be some other solution. Maybe that's, I know, this is the issue getting out of how maybe it's on that back site. One car. I just think it's not it.
I don't disagree, but still got the old building.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. In that corner, if we install out this part in back and now maybe another street. It's so excluded back there, really doesn't feel like the back of things is happening. It's a confusing spot. It's one of the few spaces I just don't have to answer. staff and grocery long enough.
Yes, so we do have a couple more, at least one more application.
Okay. So. I don't know if we helped you.
Well,
You tried.
right, okay, well, we'll probably push this to the next level. Yeah, we'll try to make some adjustments and see what we can come up with for next time.
All right, yeah, definitely take a look at that one alley and see if it helps at all, that college alley, it's just between Fourth and it's an alley between. It's really just Fourth and another alley. It's just one.
That alley does not have a name.
But it's a fancy alley. It's a discount. Look for the one.
Yeah, college is the one you're talking about, but the intersection.
Yeah.
Right, thank you.
All right, so what's our last one?
805 something.
So number 11.
That was the last one.
Yes. So are we continuing that one?
Left.
I saw two people when I run walk in and pointed with my eyes, so I thought it was a.
So what about this one?
This is about the retaining wall.
Yeah, so the reason this one is at the hearing is because it was moved to staff approval at the proceeding under the condition that it was a wrought iron fence.
Oh, gotcha.
And, yeah, and they proposed a steel one, so since that wasn't the wrought iron and they are curving it at the front corner, I had asked them to come because they also submitted a more decorative fence, as you can see up here, as opposed to the one that was submitted. I was hoping they'd be here so we could talk over some things. I was also hoping for an updated site plan so we could know where that wrought iron fence was curving and how it was being handled.
This is what they're proposing?
Yes,
Okay.
I think this is a little bit more decorative than was shown, but I mean, it's gonna leave it to the commission. Is this okay?
Isn't this very similar to what was there? At least,
Okay.
it was very, we were along there.
Yeah, I mean, so many of the detail that's not.
And is the commission okay with it being the steel as opposed to the wrought iron? then?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just did, I think it's the consensual, yeah, the flexibility.
Okay, well, since they're not here and everyone seems to be in agreement, can we make a motion?
I'm comfortable with that. Everybody else? Anything else that concern?
I'm in favor of it.
Okay, you want to make that motion?
To approve the application being go through 805 Summit Street, which will be a metal non-aluminum fencing material approved by SAN.
Thanks. All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, motion carries. Okay, I think that's everything on the agenda. What else do we have under other business? I thought it's awesome.
So this was carried over from the business meeting, but I do want to restate that Jacqueline Lehman back here will be taking over staffing in Town Village. I will be here to hunt you guys at the next business meeting, and then Jacqueline will take over for the hearing. I am moving to Victorian Village, so you're not getting rid of me altogether. I'll probably stop in every now and again to say hi. Maybe, drop off some cookies. Maybe, I make no promises.
Great.
I've shared with there's cookies before. I mean, it also depends on how comfortable people are receiving food during COVID. So lots of variables.
Cookies, we make exceptions.
Yes. I make no promises that Victorian will probably get the same cookies too, but nobody's going to be excluded. I'm noting, of course, we're in person and that will continue for the foreseeable future. I don't expect that to change unless something with COVID pops up again and there's greater issues, which I'm hoping there's not. But the business meeting will be held in this room.
Okay.
So we're not going to try to fit everyone in that small room on the third floor. So this kind of shared social distancing, as you can see, we've got the hand sanitizers, wipes, masks, for whatever people are comfortable with. I still ask, please let us know if you're going to be able to make it, because it's not as easy when it's in person to kind of reschedule or just hop on virtually. And it's not on here, but I will note the appointments and reappointments did get approved, which you guys would have gathered because Brooke is here and
Yes.
the quorum.
Yes.
But both Brooke and Ben were renewed for their next 3-year term with the commission. And yes, Paige Snelling. I'm probably butchering her last name, so I'm going to leave it to her to get correctly, but hopefully we'll see her at the business meeting. From what I understand, she's an architect. I believe she might live over in Victorian Village, but Todd had recommended
Yeah,
it.
she works at the USA, I think, right?
Yeah.
That's great. Sounds good. Just real quick, non-updates, but I did go to the Townhouse Foundation meeting. I'm cold, and I don't remember what we talked about. But it was a heartwarming gathering. It's very down person there too. So the one thing I will say though, I did remember, maybe David had heard as well, is that on the society, I think they are going to start regularly doing meetings at 7. I'm mistaken.
I have not heard that.
Okay, I think I heard that. Don't hold me to it, but I think they're gonna start holding meetings at 7, so. They seem like they're doing a lot of activities in the society, so.
Yeah, their trash pickup day, was a great start, but it was one of the days, it was like 95 and actually 7 people did not have a tournament available.
Yeah, oh, and one other thing,
It was held in Edison, which is
Yes.
the facility on the street that we approved, electric buildings, which is with that center. And if you haven't seen it, drive by and look at the garden. Where it's good. A lot of the time.
oh, really? I could see, I just saw it quite a bit different.
Yeah, it looks good.
The one other thing about that is though, 4th and 5th, the city is about to get underway, special improvement district, so they have had some, like focus group things in order to have business owners and whatnot talk about how they think it should be promoted. Coming up with ideas on that, so there should be more, litter pickup and all the stuff that goes along with the SID meetings on 4th and 5th, going forward, actually when it starts, but soon. Good.
One other heading for you, remember we talked about the corner, northwest corner of 4th and 2nd, which is the public housing project that they were to put the fence up around
Yes.
the dumpster and plant the arborvitae's. Haven't done anything. Or the trash around that, it's just, it's really bad, amazing. Is there any way to, within the city, to say a landlord needs to manage those properties or?
Yes, I know, trash has been reported elsewhere within it, and keep in mind, we are still live. So I know it's been done, the code officer has let me know, just because he's filed it, so to say, kind of a heads up of I'm issuing this, but this is not something we have to issue for. So I know it's been reported and I believe it has been taken care of. Once it's been issued.
Yeah, I'm employees, which hopefully get picked up more with the city.
Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, but you're saying to it with a 311 there.
Yes.
Okay, good.
All right, do we move to adjourn?
I'd like to make that motion.
All in favor?